Hi, I am Pratik Sengupta, and basically, uh, in my last video, I have discussed regarding SQL basic interview questions for freshers and little bit experienced people. So in this video, I will be covering the part two of that. Okay, some more additional SQL interview questions that may be asked in the interview. Okay, so. So basically, these are the different types of additional questions that can be asked. Okay, the SQL. So first question is what is SQL? Okay, so okay, I think I have forgot to share my screen. Let me share my screen. Yeah. So I hope everybody can see my screen. Okay, right? So. So first question is what is SQL? So SQL is a structured query language. It is the standard language used to access, update, and manipulate relational databases. Important word is relational database. Okay. So for every database, SQL will not work. Okay. So it will only work for relational databases. So what is relational database? Relational database contains structured data, and the data amount, okay, it is not huge. Okay, it is less, and it is organized and structured. Data is organized and structured. Okay, they are stored in relational, they are fit for storing in relational databases. So SQL is the language which is used to access, update, and manipulate relational databases. It allows the users to filter, sort, and extract the data from a relational database. Okay, so for example, like, right, so for example here, I will just show the examples. Okay, so suppose here, the relational database, by means, what do you mean by relational databases, that I already explained. So I will just run one SQL query to show you as an example of it. So this is one example of SQL query. Select star from doctor. So doctors is a table. Okay, doctors is a table, huh? If we run, if we run select star from doctors, so see, so this is the doctor table. It is containing doctor ID, first name of the doctor, last name of the doctor, and in what disease he or she is specialist in curing. Okay, for the patients. So so this is one example of SQL query, right? So means we can select different data from SQL, means from the tables. We can insert record into the table. We can update any particular column value in the table, right? Suppose I want here where the doctor ID is 1, the last name to be not Walls but John, Lord John. Okay, that I can do. So any value in any column I can change by update query. I want to insert any, means any new record into the table, I use insert query. I want to delete any particular record from the table, then I use delete query. Okay, and that's it. So this is SQL. So a relational database stores data in the form of columns and rows, right? As we can see here, right? So columns and rows, it is actually storing the data. Tables can be related to other tables based on row values. Okay, for more information. Okay, right. So tables, there can be multiple tables and they can be interrelated. Okay. So what are the basic elements of, now I come to the next question. What are the basic elements of a SQL query? So, so the exact structure of each SQL query will obviously depend on the problem you are trying to solve. However, there are some basic elements that form most of the SQL queries: select, from, join, where, group by, having, order by. These are the common elements of a SQL query. Generally, by these clauses, we form most of the SQL queries. Okay. Is the select statement is used to fetch the row, fetch data from the database, as we already saw, right? So from command is used to specify tables within the database. We already saw that, right? And join is used to connect the tables with the database using shared column values. Order by is used to sort the data. We can sort the data by ascending or descending, in the ascending or the descending order. Descending order means largest to smallest. Ascending order means smallest to largest. And group by is used to group the data. Okay. So we'll all see the demo here of all these clauses. Okay. I will show the running of the queries. What is SQL where clause? Where is applied after the from or join statements. Okay, it retrieves those records that meet. So whenever we want to specify some condition based on which the data is to be retrieved from the tables, we specify where clause. Okay, so where is used to compare. Okay, okay, so where is used to use comparison operators or logical operators. Okay, we can specify complex where conditions with and or. We can specify complex conditions. So now comes the next question: how does group by work? Group by clause groups records with the same values in the given column. Okay. So how does group by work? So let's see the example. Okay. So this is one example here. The I am. Let's comment out this one. And let's uncomment this one. So now just observe this SQL statement carefully. So select patient ID, count of patient ID as count of patients. Okay. From admissions, group by patient ID, having diagnosis equal to cardiac arrest. Order by count of patients descending. So now what I'm doing here, whenever we use group by clause, we use some aggregate functions individually. Aggregate, this count is an aggregate function. It counts the number of patients here which satisfies this particular condition, having diagnosis equal to cardiac arrest. Okay, so it counts. Okay, and we are actually grouping by patient ID here. So we are grouping by patient ID. So for each patient ID, okay, like having diagnosis equal to cardiac arrest, okay, he can have actually multiple times cardiac arrest, right? Means a single patient. So how many times particular? So for each patient ID, we can have more than one record. Okay, it can, because a patient can have multiple times of cardiac arrest, right? So select patient ID, count of patient ID as count of patients from admissions table, group by patient ID. Patient ID, we are group. This is the column based on which we are grouping. Having diagnosis equal to cardiac arrest. Having is specified always with group by clause. It is not specified with any other SQL query. It's only specified with group by clause. Whenever group by is there, we specify having. We do not specify where clause. Having and where both does the same function. It specifies the condition, but having is specifically used for group by. But where is used in other SQL queries where group by is not there. And order by count of patients descending. So largest to smallest. Okay. So if we run this query, So we see here patient ID and count of patients. So 282 patient. So patient with patient ID 282 had 2 times cardiac arrest. Okay. So he was admitted 2 times. Okay. As I said, right? 918 had 2 times cardiac arrest. All patients had 2 times cardiac arrest. 643 had 1 time cardiac arrest. 1593 patient ID had 1 time cardiac arrest. Okay. So uh, we have we have grouped, okay, based on the patient ID. This data is based on grouping of patient ID. Okay, so for each patient ID, we can see the count basically. So in general, always whenever we specify group by clause, we specify some aggregate function in DB2. DB2 have a lot of aggregate functions like count, sum, okay, average, right? So whenever we want specifically a data which can only be found by grouping a specific column, then we use group by clause and we mention the aggregate function in the query. And aggregate functions is count of patient ID, right? So we are just renaming that thing as count underscore patient. So that's why this count underscore patients is count, because we have specified that in the query. Because this does not look good, right? So that's why we specify as this. Okay. So this will be displayed in the output of the SQL query. I hope group by is understood. So group by clause groups the records with the same values in a given column. Suppose if you wrote group by, all employees with the same value in the department column would be one group. So it groups basically, okay, based on a specific column. So this is very useful when you need to compute aggregate statistics for that group. As I said, right, aggregate statistics means we use aggregate functions in DB2. So group by follows optional where clause and is most used when aggregate functions like count, sum, average are referenced in select statement. Mainly we use having with group by, okay. In one of our prior articles, we went how group by works and some practical examples of SQL group by, right? So name and explain some aggregate functions. So aggregate function example, count. We have just used, right? Count. This is one aggregate function. So in SQL, an aggregate function uses the data from multiple rows to calculate a single result. Common aggregate functions like count returns the number of rows. Sum, it returns the sum of all values in that column. Average will return the average value of that. Suppose average of salary. So all the salaries it will compute and it will divide by the number of rows pertaining to that salary column. Okay. It will divide by that and it will compute the average. Minimum, it returns the smallest value. Maximum returns the largest value. Right? So it uses data from multiple rows and it calculates a single result. That's why it's called aggregate functions. It's aggregates all the column means all the rows, means it aggregates the values from all the rows and gives a single result and calculates a single result. Okay. What does having clause do? SQL means next question is what does having clause do? SQL having clause is used for filtering the data created by group by clause. As I mentioned, having clause is used for group by clause only according to specific condition. This clause filters the data on group records rather than individual. Having clause is not used for individual records. It is only used for group records. So that's why it is used with group by clause. So it must follow group by. Whenever we use group by, okay, so we have to have a having clause. Okay, there. It cannot be used without a group by clause. As I said earlier, what is the difference between having and where? Difference between having and where is in what each one filters. Where clause filters individual records. Where clause is mainly used for individual records. It cannot be applied to grouped or aggregated records. Having clause filters grouped or aggregated records. So it is very clear, right? So where is used for individual record. Having is used for grouped or aggregated record. Okay. A query can have both clauses. Where is applied on individual records, followed by group by, and then the having clause. First, we have the individual record. Then we have the group by clause, and then the having clause. Okay. A query can have both where and group by and a query can have both where and having clause. Discuss the action of join and different join types, right? A join merges data. In the earlier interview video also I specified what is join. I am again specifying. Today I will specify with some example. Okay, I will specify with some example. I will specify with some hands-on basically. So first query is the join example. So let me just comment this one. Let me uncomment this one. Okay, and let me select it. So what I'm doing, select patients is one table, admissions is another table. We can see patient ID. Patient ID consists of patient ID, first name, last name, gender, birth date, city, province ID, allergies, height, weight. And admissions table consists of patient ID, admission date, discharge date, diagnosis, attending doctor ID. So we are actually joining these two tables based on patient ID. Okay. So what we are doing is select a dot patient ID, a dot first name, a dot gender. This we are taking from patient's table. Okay, patient ID, first name, and gender. And b dot admission date, b dot discharge date. So this we are taking from the second table, admissions. Okay, from patients A. So A is the object for patient's table. Inner join admissions B. Admission is the means B is the object for admissions table. Okay. So where A dot patient underscore ID equal to B dot patient. So we are joining these two tables based on the patient ID. Okay. And we can specify some more conditions also after this using and or clause. Okay. And we are doing inner join only. And what is mean by inner join, which I said in the earlier video? Inner join joins the matched records only the matched records. So it will not include the unmatched records between the two tables. Okay. So only the patient ID. Okay, it is joining based on the patient ID column, right? So only the patient's IDs which are common in both the tables, admission and patients, we will see the rows when we run this query. Okay. So if we run this query, let's run this query. You see, patient ID, first name, gender, admission date, discharge date. So these three we are getting from the first table patients. Last two we are getting from admission date and discharge date. We are getting from admissions table. Okay. So this is how it looks. Contains more rows basically. Okay. So ends here. Okay. So 5067 rows are there altogether. Okay. So this is inner join. We can have left outer join. So it returns all the rows from the left table and the matching rows from the and the matching rows from the right table. So right, and the matching rows from the right table after join. Correct. Right. So whatever is matching rows between left table and the right table, it returns those rows and all the rows from the left table. If there is no matching row for the right table, null will be returned for those values. Absolutely correct. Right join returns all the rows from the right table and the matching rows from the left table. And full join returns all the records from both the tables. Okay. Full join means all the unmatched rows as well as matched rows. Everything will come in full join. So let's do a full outer join here. For example, here I'm just doing full outer join. We do the full outer join. So here we can see, right, it populated mostly, but I think due to some technical faults, it is not able to run. But what exactly is full outer join is, it returns all the records from the both the tables, matched and unmatched records. So what does order by do? Order by do sorts the records based on means we have just seen the example, right? Order by uh, count of patients descending. It can be either descending order or ascending order. Descending order means largest to smallest. Ascending order means smallest to largest value. Okay. It specifies a sort order. Ascending or descending specifies a sort order. If you don't specify any order, it is ascending order by default, means smallest to largest. Because order by, okay, so order by can be applied to one or more column. It can be applied to one, means more than one column. So it will order them by the first column and then order any matching first column values by the second column. Okay, so it can be applied, order by clause can be applied to more than one column. Okay, in the table. What is meant by null in SQL? In SQL, null represent values which are unknown or unavailable. So a primary key cannot be null in any table. Primary key must be unique and it must contain value. It cannot be a null value. Okay. So whenever we create a table by DDL statement, we specify, and when we specify the fields in the fields in the create table statement, we always specify not null for primary key column, because that cannot be null value. That must contain value and that must be unique also for each record. In database tables, some values cannot be null, like primary keys are mandatory fields. As I said, right, working with null can be quite tricky. You cannot use comparisons like this to retrieve nulls. Instead, you have to use is null or is not null. You have to use like this way. We cannot use comparison operators or logical operators to retrieve null. Okay, so always we have to use is null or is not null. What does union do? Union is a set operator that merges the results of two queries into the one table. Suppose there are two select queries, we can merge these two queries into one table. Union does not include duplicate records. If we specify union all, then it includes all records, even the duplicates. Okay. So two queries must operate on the same, means the table structure on which these two queries will work. Those two table structure must be same in order to run the union query successfully. Okay. So if I select star from table A union, select star from table B, table A and table B must have the same fields, same data type. Okay, same structure. Otherwise, union query will not work. Union will not include duplicate records. Union all, if we specify, then it includes all the records, even the duplicates. Okay. So what does intersect and minus clauses do? Intersect, minus are set operators, both work on the select statement. Minus subtracts the result of the first select from the second select. So whatever we have the result, suppose there are two select query and we specify minus in between them. So from the first select query, whatever records come from them, means so that is subtracted from the second select query. Okay. In other words, it returns records that are unique to the first select result. So which are unique to the first select result. So whatever records are there in the first select result but not in the second select result, they are returned. Intersect, on the other hand, return distinct rows that appear in both the queries, where both the results have in common. Very just like a set theory. Okay, A minus B, A is a set, B is a set. So whatever is there in A which is not in B, that is, means which is unique in A, okay, that will be returned, right? And Intersect is on the other hand. Okay, so all all the common things, all the common rows, okay, uh, which actually appear in both the queries, they will be returned for intersect. Distinct is, distinct keyword. When we use distinct keyword, describe the role of distinct keyword. Next question. Distinct is only, in the select statement, we use distinct, select distinct column name. So that means only the unique values of that column will be returned. If it contains duplicates, then that duplicate uh, thing means more than, if it contains more than one row containing the same value in a particular column, then the other rows will not be returned. Only one row containing that value will be returned. Okay, so duplicate records are not returned if you use distinct keyword. Okay. And what is subquery in SQL? Subquery, as I earlier said, I am not repeating. So it means in my earlier video. So uh, there are two queries. Okay, there are two queries uh, in SQL query. So the inner query is called a subquery. Like, for example, select name, location, phone number from database table, where roll number is also a column in the database table, and where roll number in, select roll number from student where section equals. So for A section students, we want the name, location, and phone number. So here we use this subquery. Okay. So first it will run this particular query. It will retrieve the result, and then it will check, and then it will run the outer query, and then it will check whether the roll number is belonging to this set. And if it belongs to this set, that means the record for that particular roll number, okay, it will be retrieved giving these details. What details it will retrieve? Name, location, and phone number. This is how subquery runs. There is inner query and there is outer query. Okay. How do you modify data in the database using SQL? As I earlier said, by definitely data manipulation language like update, insert, delete, right? Update is used for updating a particular column in the table, okay? Column value. Insert is inserting a new row inside the table. Delete means deleting a particular record from the table. So this ends my discussion on the SQL interview questions part 2. I wish you all the best for the upcoming interviews. Thank you very much.